Recording has started. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت آمين. Okay. So I was making mutala for this surah, and man, you guys are in for a treat today, dude. This is absolutely mind blowing. Like at least to me, man. Like I was like the connections, the different discussions, like the way that it all kind of like comes together, and it's so it was like gave me goosebumps. Okay, so it's difficult though. In the beginning, there's a lot of different words that perhaps are maybe took you guys like a minute to look up and stuff. So, but we could give it a shot, inshallah. Anyone wanna volunteer, inshallah, to what is it? Ayah number 1 to 14, I guess. Or you could just do half half and then inshallah. Either of you guys want to do it? Yeah, go ahead. Inshallah. Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Moved away. The Sayyid, I think it had come before in Surah Naba as well. Hmm. Female camel. Yeah, abandoned, deserted. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, great. That was really, really good, mashallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. No, 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 mashallah, you're doing a great job, actually. I think maybe just a couple of things I might add or change a little bit, but that was really on point, mashallah. Great job. So, so just to start off, so the connection between Surah Abasa and Surah Takwir. So this is Surah Takwir that we're on right now. Right before it, we were discussing Surah Abasa, in which we discussed, of course, the incident in the regarding the Abdullah bin Maktoum. Then there was talked about how like the nobility of the Quran and some of its qualities في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة. That Allah Ta'ala calls attention to the ingratitude of man, and how is it possible that this insan has the audacity to even though we provided for him, we gave him everything, granted him all of these blessings, that how is it possible that he is still ungrateful to us and he denies us and our promises? Then Allah Ta'ala talks about the uh, certain vegetations, plants and fruits and these things, and how just like Allah Ta'ala gives them life, Allah Ta'ala too will give the human beings, will bring them back alive as well. Then Allah Ta'ala talks about the scene of the Day of Judgment, and how people will be acting on that day. يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغني, and the state of people on that day. وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة, until the end of the surah. So this surah is a sort of sharah for, just like in the last surah, فإذا جاءت الصاخة, and as well as surah النازعات, فإذا جاءت الطامة الكبرى, when the great calamity strikes, when that deafening blast strikes, and it comes. So the previous surahs, it was mentioning what will happen on the earth, and what's the chaos that's going to be amongst the people. That, like we said, يوم يفر المرء من أخيه, that this person, he's going to be loving from everything and anything that he loved. He's not even going to be care. He's not going to have any care for those individuals. And now Allah Ta'ala in this surah, right in the beginning, as Hamza he translated, that now Allah Ta'ala is talking about the chaos that is going to be present in the cosmos. That Allah Ta'ala is going to be telling us about the chaos that's going to be happening all around us as well. Now, Sheikh Sabuni, he gives just a short division of the surah. He says that Surah al-Takwir min surah al-Makkiyah, that it's a Makki surah, and it discusses two different things. It discusses the haqiqatul qiyamah, the reality of the Day of Judgment, as you've seen coming for the last three surahs. And the second topic that it kind of shifts towards at the end is that it talks about haqiqatul wahyi wa risala, that it talks about the nature and the reality of revelation and prophethood. And وكلاهما من لوازم الإيمان, and how both of them are necessary to believe it. وابتدأ السورة الكريمة ببيان القيامة وما يصاحبها من الانقلاب كوني, the beginning of the surah, as we said, it talks about the terrors on the Day of Judgment and how the entire cosmos will be flipped upside down pretty much, and how this includes the sun, the moon, the mountains, the oceans, the earth, the skies, even the cattle, and the wuhush that he mentioned, the wild beast, and of course insan. And Allah Ta'ala is discussing how all of these things are going to be flipped inside out, are going to be turned. It's going to be a complete 180 to what we're naturally accustomed to. And then Allah Ta'ala talks about ثم تناولت حقيقة الوحي, that Allah Ta'ala discusses the reality of revelation and the qualities of Jibreel alayhi salam, as well as Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the nature of wahi and how it should be used and it should be taken as a source of guidance, and just discussing the attitude of the mushrikeen towards wahi. And then the last thing he says that obviously فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Inshallah, we'll get to that, but we haven't translated those ayahs yet, inshallah. So إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُبِّرَتْ, that إِذَا is used for when, and in English, we use it for past and the future. We say, when I go to school, or when I will go to the madrasa, right? So, إِذَا in Arabic is for the past, but إِذَا is used for the future. So, over here we see إِذَا الشَّمْسُ, إِذَا is being used to talk about the future, because this is about, of course, the أحوال القيامة and the different things that will happen on the Day of Judgment. So, of course, we're talking about the future. But we notice that normally in Arabic we say, like, we bring the fi'il first, then we say the fa'il, correct? We say that daraba zaydun, that Zayd hit. But over here we see that it's flipped, that the normal sentence construction is actually reversed, that إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُبِّرَتْ, that the ism in this case is being brought first. So, and we also notice that the maldi is being used, that kubirat, that of course we know that this is something that's talking about the future, and ida of course also brought as to refer to something that's happening in the future. But I think we had mentioned this before in one of the previous surahs, that kubirat, the reason the maldi is being used is to show the tahaqquq al-wuqu'. I believe that's I think we talked about this, that this thing is for sure going to happen, just like how the past, there's certainty in the past that something did occur in the past, but we don't have that same certainty of the future because we don't know what's going to happen. Allah Ta'ala is using the madi form of the fi'l to show that this, of course, will happen. So, like we said, that normally the fi'l is first, but the shams is being brought first to show that when the sun shall most definitely be wrapped up. So this sentence construction is also drawing attention to that this thing for sure will take place. And it's also showing us that, of course, Allah Ta'ala, the Quran it's a bayan, it's a guidance, it's huda, it's for every single person, right? That Allah Ta'ala it addresses all facets of people, every single groups of people. And what we see here is that because of this sentence construction, that the fact that Allah Ta'ala is placing so much emphasis both through the either through the shams being brought first and then the fi'il madi sigha being used, it's showing that the address, that the mukhatab, that the audience of the surah is who? It is actually referring to the worst type of skeptic in the if like the person that asks, is qiyamah really going to happen, is talking to that individual, that Allah Ta'ala is talking to that individual who has so much doubt into whether this thing that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam keeps preaching towards, is it really going to happen. So that we see from the emphatic nature of this sentence construction that that is the mukhatab, that's the audience that Allah Ta'ala is speaking to here. Again, we also said that the majhul is used due to the audience being the worst skeptic. The majhul is brought to highlight the speech, not the speaker. Okay, so majhul, like we say, majhul, it doesn't talk about like who the fa'il was. It just talks about that this thing, the fi'il did occur, correct? That when you say it's like saying like a man was killed. It puts focus on the occurrence of the killing as opposed to identifying who the killer is. Correct. So now this skeptic, he has this he's doubting as to whether this thing will occur. So now that's why the faida of the another faida of the majhul being brought is to show that the focus shouldn't be on anything else except for the fact that this fi'l will most surely occur. Then Allah Ta'ala says, okay, Takwir, I believe, what did you say? You said to enfold, it wraps up inside of itself, something like that? Yeah, yeah, Shamsu Kuwirat, ji. Yeah, great. So, Takwir is used for turbans when you actually, when you tightly wrap something in it, like inside of itself. I don't know if you guys ever had to, had a fresh turban that you took out the packet, and then you had to, you had to grab one of your buddies to like stretch it out, and then you had to like stand there for like 5 minutes trying to like fold it in on it. So, you guys ever done that? Yeah, okay, so it's right. So that's the same fi'l that this fi'l of takwir, that's the fi'l that's used for like wrapping a turban tightly like that, as opposed to a different af'al showing like how we might fold our laundry, fold like a cloth or like our blanket or something. A fi'l more like laf is used for that. So i.e. the long light, so the turban, this long cloth that's stretching from me into like my friend who's like 12, 15 feet away, depending on the turban, right? It's saying that it's used for the shams, meaning that this long light that the sun has this huge reach with its light, that is going to be folded up inside of itself. Allah Ta'ala always also says, يكور الليل عن النهار ويكون النهار على الليل, right? So same thing. وإذا وإذا النجوم كدرت. So we have written underneath in tatharat. What did it say? This is from my scattered. That there'll be, I believe you said dull. I remember reading that somewhere as well, but I think in kadara means to, yeah, dull and collapse. So the two things of beauty and strength of both the night and the day, Allah Ta'ala is going to destroy. That Allah Ta'ala is going to destroy the sun, which is, of course, we take so much benefit from its light. Allah Ta'ala is going to destroy that. And the nujum, which Allah Ta'ala says that they're used for, for navigation and for guidance, then Allah Ta'ala is also going to destroy that as well. And you actually see later on in the surah, we're kind of going to come back to back to the sun and moon discussion over, or sun and star discussion over, when we're talking about the فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس and those things, inshallah. والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس. So inshallah, that'll also, it's another connection there that inshallah we'll get back to. So وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ. So سُيِّرَت, but I'm pretty sure this came in Surah Naba. I'm forgetting the ayah though, but it talks about how the jibal, the the mountains will like slowly just move away. It's like they're just like a cloud that's just slowly drifting away. That's what the mountains will look like. And of course, we talked about the mountains before, about how Allah Ta'ala calls them the pegs of the ground and how they're like these immovable objects of strength. Even when we were talking about compared to in Surah Nazi'at, that the pharaohs and the Egyptians, they had their huge amazing buildings, but they're nothing, like the pyramids for example, but they're nothing compared to the buildings that Allah Ta'ala has constructed in the ground. And also Allah Ta'ala is saying that these jibal that just seem like immovable forces, Allah Ta'ala is going to cause them to float away. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ. When the 10 ishar is the 10-month pregnant camel. عُطِّلَت. So of course the camel, it's like, okay, for us that would be like, say, like a Ferrari, like a Lambo or Tesla or some one of these, like it's like a status symbol. Having a camel like this is a status symbol. It's a sign of wealth. So now عُطِّلَت, it means it becomes useless when this 10-month camel, it's abandoned. It's you don't care about it anymore. It's like, of course, obviously when the qiyamah is going to happen, no one's going to care about any of their belongings, no matter how amazing that belonging is, right? So this amazing, this like height, this pinnacle of wealth, it too will be abandoned. Allah Ta'ala is saying. Allah Ta'ala also says that وَبِئْرٍ مُعَطَّلَةٍ, that Allah Ta'ala says that the same word mu'attala, like a useless well, when he was talking about like a certain qarya. So this precious asset will be left, and then Allah Ta'ala says, "Well, وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ." When all these wuhush is specifically used for undomesticated animals. All these undomesticated animals are brought together and they are assembled when the wild beasts are assembled together. So now this is hashar is different from jama'. So normally when we think of the fi'l together, we think of the word jama', right? So, but hashar, it's a sort of forceful herding. That although these whatever you're trying to gather together and bring together into one group, it's you're forcing these things into that wherever you're trying to put them. So you might think of only domesticated animals, but like it's like in a flood, no one like you'll have like what's a predator and prey, for example. You'll have like these animals who are considered like, this certain animal is a thing that it eats the other animal. But when there's a flood, you'll see animals of all types. They're all gathered together on like one, maybe like one tall patch of land or like on some roof. That's where they don't care about who's predator and who's prey. Rather, they just care about surviving. And even if that's with their natural predator on their side. Mm, predator and prey are in the same tree. So, yeah. إذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت. And okay, so there's a couple different interpretations as to what does sujirat mean. So when I believe you said that when like the ocean, when the seas are like set ablaze, right? And I think another one is that when they like boil over, like it has nothing to do with the fire, but it has to do more with like they're just gonna be like the water is just gonna continue to be rising and rising. It's gonna just completely cover everything pretty much. Or yeah, like we said, it could be fuel, and it could be like the water itself will be turned into a fuel. It's not just going to be set ablaze, but the water itself is going to be like kind of have like properties of that cause it to become flammable, and a lot that, and then it's going to be a huge pool of fire. I remember I forgot who visited DS like a couple years ago, maybe for like the retreat, like during the retreat or like the Sierra conference, they get like one big shot Urdu speaker to come in, and then he gives like the one of the closing bayans, and then you have like Mufti Azim or someone doing the tarjuma. Yeah, so he said something very interesting. He said that like now we know beneath the the crust of the earth, there's all this magma and like just stuff that's burning, right? What's the layers of the earth again? You have the crust, and you have the mantle. You guys know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, right? Those things, yeah. It's been a minute. I'm sorry. So, yeah. So all those things, it's very possible that just like how volcanoes, right? That it's possible that the fire could just start coming up from underneath the ocean, and it could. That's what the ayah could possibly be referring to. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. And when the how was this? And when the souls are recoupled. So this could be either referring to how like the bodies, like the a person's soul will be recoupled to their bodies. That's number one. Number two is it's referring to so Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu says actually, and Sheikh Sabuni mentions it as well. I might as well just read the where is it? وإذا النفوس زوجت قال الطبري that between a pious man will be coupled with the other pious people. A pious individual will be coupled, زوجت, that this he'll be coupled with the other righteous people in Jannah, في الجنة وبين الرجل السوء مع رجل السوء في النار. That a immoral and the non-pious person, he'll be coupled with all the other non-pious people in the fire of Jahannam. So then he says, وهذا هذه رواية الطبري عن عمر بن الخطاب وقيل المراد قرن الأجساد بالأرواح والأول أرجح والله أعلم. So he says that this statement of Umar radiallahu ta'ala an is the preferred opinion regarding this verse, is what it's referring to. And then what's the ayah? Allah Ta'ala says وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجٌ ثَلَاثَةً, that Allah Ta'ala says كُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجٌ ثَلَاثَةً, that there'll be like three different groups of people on that day. What is it? I think I have it here somewhere. There'll be the people of the Yameen, people of the Shimal, and people that are Sabiq. That there was like the people of righteousness, people of that'll enter the hellfire, and then there's people that are just way beyond, like in terms of their piety, they're just so far ahead. So that's another kind of dalil showing that Umar radiallahu ta'ala an's opinion is most likely what this ayah is referring to. Then am I forgetting anything? No. وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت. Okay. وإذا الموءودة سئلت. So compared to let me just translate it first. So when the female child mau'udatun, right? So the female child is buried alive, it will be asked, questioned, بأي ذنب قتلت, for what sin was it that she performed, that she was killed for. So now, a couple of things. So I wrote these on the side really quickly because I just wanted to mention them. So I apologize if it doesn't sound super coherent, but compared to the previous surah, Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Abasa, يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه. Right? Now, bani is banin. It's used for male children specifically. Although the jama of a word, it kind of incorporates both men and women. Like we say Muslimun, obviously it refers to one Muslim, male Muslim, right? But if we say Muslimuna, it's not just a bunch of male Muslims. It refers to both men and women who are Muslims, correct? Without banin, some asma, they're not like that. So banin, for example, it's specifically referring to these male children that the kuffar, of course, they valued very, very much. So now that's why Allah Ta'ala mentions it over there. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ, that the kuffar, they had so much love for their male children because it's like a sort of wealth and status symbol, correct? Now, where as opposed to here, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ, when this female child is buried alive. So when we see this despicable attitude of the mushrik that Allah Ta'ala is mentioning, that you even see that what does Allah Ta'ala mention first? وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ, that to a mushrik, to these idol worshippers in Mecca, Allah Ta'ala mentions the camel first. Why? Because that's something that that's something that they, in their minds, it was more valuable than having a mau'uda, having a female child. So, as opposed to our deen, of course, where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has promised Jannah and reward for for an individual who has 3 daughters or 2 daughters and so on. So this is the despicable attitude that Allah Ta'ala is highlighting, that these people, they even valued different types of wealth over having females, over having daughters. Now we say Allah Ta'ala is actually asking the victim here on the Day of Judgment. The maw'uda is going to be asked, correct? So now we see that the attitude of the ignorant mushrik, Allah is showing that He will deal with those who were oppressed. Meaning, or it's like similar to, like, it's also a sort of tawbih, that Allah Ta'ala, He knows that the crime was perpetrated. So showing that we're not even going to focus on you. This is sort of rebuke and a sort of blame that's being put on them, saying that this the crime you committed was so heinous, so disgusting that I don't even need to ask you anything. Let me just ask the victim themselves. That Allah Taala is not even going to turn his attention to the perpetrators. Um, similar to how Isa alayhi salam, he's asked that, why is it that these people took you as you and your mother as divine beings after your passing. So now this is same thing, that these Allah Ta'ala is not even asking them why they did it, because this the concept of tawheed is so important, and these people that just completely breached that line. بأي ذنب. So سيئة is used for sin. ذنب is used for even like small sins. So obviously this maw'uda, this as infant, this like baby, this little this female that was born to a family, that obviously she didn't perform any sayyi'ah. She didn't perform any big sin. Did she even perform a small sin? Is there anything that you guys could present that it was that she deserved to be buried for? That of course not. So it's what is it? So she obviously didn't do anything big, and but did she even do anything small? And then Allah Ta'ala says, وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, when the scrolls of deeds are laid forth. So suhuf are, of course, of the a'mal. And ثُمَّ إِذَا شَاءَ. Oh, okay, actually, to the previous, we see in the previous surah, Allah, what does Allah Ta'ala say? Allah Ta'ala, he uses both of these words, actually, suhuf and nashara. So what were the two ayahs? Allah Ta'ala says, fi suhufim mukarrama, correct? Talking about the Quran, that the Quran is written in noble pages. And then as for nushirat, it's in the previous surah, it was summa idha sha'a ansharahu, that when Allah Ta'ala wishes, He will bring these individuals back to life. Correct? So those two words are being used. So now we see here, it's that the suhuf, referring to the revelation, and the anshara, in that previous surah, is referring to life. You put those two together, you say your life plus it needs revelation. Why? So that you could have a good وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, so that when these suhuf are rolled out, that's then you are going to be in a good state. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ, when the sky, it's kushitat. So this it's used for skinning an animal. When the sky, it's skinned. When the sky is, what is it? Is stripped away. Used for skinning an animal. وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ. Did I miss anything again? Okay. وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ, and when Jahannam, when the hellfire is set ablaze and it has these huge towering flames. So now Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Rahman, فَكَانَتْ وَرْدَةً كَالدِّهَانِ, that the sky will be red. It's like a rose. So now it's possible that it's because of this وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ, that this Jahannam is not, first of all, the sky has been stripped away, right? So now it's like a clean canvas, right? So and then وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ, this is the hellfire will become ablaze, and it's going to have these huge towering flames. فَكَانَتْ وَرْدَةً كَالدِّهَانِ, that ayah over there in Surah Rahman, that's what causes the sky to become red like a rose. And additionally, even in the previous surah, like we mentioned, Surah Abasa, there's وجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة. That Allah Ta'ala says that there will be faces on that day which upon them have dust, and there will be grime and like a blackness that's just overspreading their faces. So it's possible because of this Jahannam being brought forth and it's being set ablaze and it has these towering flames, that's what's causing their faces to become black. And the reason I'm saying this is because you'll see on the flip side is وَإِذَا what is it? Yeah, وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ, and when Jannah is brought near. So now وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ, so now this is causing the وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ. In the previous surah, Allah Ta'ala talked about how first their faces will become black, of the disbelievers and the people going to Jahannam. Then Allah Ta'ala says وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ, this will cause that وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ مُسْفِرَةٌ ضَاحِكَةٌ مُسْتَبْشِرَةٌ, that this will cause the faces of the believers to be radiant, laughing, and they'll be rejoicing, they'll be happy. عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ. علمت كل نفس ما أحضرت من خير أو شر وهذه الجملة علم النفس هي جواب ما تقدم من أول السورة إذا الشمس كورت إلى هنا. So all these things إذا الشمس كورت all the way until إذا الجنة أزلفت. What is this? What is this all connected to this ayah number 14 I believe. علمت نفس ما أحضرت. That a person will come to know what he has that it is that then that each soul shall know the consequence of all that he has brought forth, all the deeds that he did. It's he's going to understand the reality of them. He's going to be happy of his good deeds. He's going to be sad due to his evil deeds. So now, what do I say? It's like, oh yeah, so it's like all these things are happening. The sky, the sun, it's disappearing in on itself. The skies are just falling. The stars are just falling out of the skies. The he sees the mountains moving. He sees all these different things happening. He's like, oh shoot, it's really happening right now. That's all. My entire life was spent in a certain way, and all these things that he's seeing behind him, the entire destruction of the cosmos is reminding him. He's not thinking about like this is nothing about other things, of course. Nothing about even you could say important things. Rather, he's focused on now. I know that thing that I was denying, that thing that I didn't accept while I was in the worldly life, it's coming to play here right now. And the most important thing concern to a human being is that he's obviously going to be worried about what's going to happen to him on the day of judgment. That makes sense. Great. We will. Was that? علم النفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم. Okay, 5 ayahs inshallah. What time is it? Oh man. Okay, so you want to go ahead and translate these as well, or should I just go for it? These were also pretty complicated as well. Some of these words, the next 2 words, and especially what they mean and what the interpretation is. But go ahead. Mhm. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Okay, فلا أقسم بالخنس. So there's a lot of there's difference of opinion as to what exactly is this la. Is this la for nafia? Is this la for like? Does it have any other functions and stuff like that? So there's oh I hear it. I was actually looking for this, but I just found it right now. This could be la. That's zaida. That's just something that's extra. But usually we try to avoid saying that something is like zaid in the Quran. We say more it's more like for ta'keed. Of course, Allah Ta'ala is not like He's just using extra words for fun, right? Everything has a purpose. Allah Ta'ala is the most wise. So we don't want to say za'ida and like literally or anything. We could just refer to more that this is something that Allah Ta'ala is using for ta'keed, or it's la used in the meaning of kalla. That's a fala. That's this. It's like never. It's coming in the. It's like coming into like surely. It's a put again more for more emphasis that what exactly is a function of the la. Or it could actually be لا أقسم, that I am not taking an oath, meaning that بمعنى نفي لأنها واضحة. That this it's like sort of like the opposite meaning, that Allah Ta'ala is definitely taking an oath here, and it's just so clear that that's like the context of the verse and that's what's being discussed. But yeah, we could maybe talk about that in a little bit more detail. I tried to find this a little bit earlier, but I wasn't able to see it, so I guess maybe I could just find out some more detail as to what exactly is that the function of that la. أقسم بالخنس. Allah Ta'ala is taking an oath by the khunnas, and then al-jawar al-kunnas, it's continuing, بالخنس الجوار الكنس. That Allah Ta'ala is taking an oath by the stars that recede. The kunnas is the stars that recede. Kunnas. Al-Jawar Jari, like we say ma jari in the books of fiqh. Maybe you guys have heard of this. That it's like running water. So it's like these stars are they're in their orbit. It's like they're running forward. Al-Jawaril Kunnas. Al-Kunnas coming from Kinas. It's used for like that deer, the deer that it's like running through the woods, and then suddenly it goes into like a little cave and it disappears. It fades away. So I swear by the stars that recede, and they're running in their orbit forward, and then they disappear. So that's why I sent this picture of this is what we call retrograde in in our terminology. That these stars, they're in a particular orbit, and it looks like they got out of the orbit and they start going in a different way. They might disappear a little bit, or something happens that just it doesn't seem like normally we may think that the star, like the planets, they just kind of go in their orbits and then they just go in one continuous motion. There's nothing that kind of throws it off balance, but that's what's being referred to here, possibly. What was I going to say? That was okay. Now the stars to the Quraysh. So they were seen as, I'm sure you guys have heard of this as well, is that the stars to the Quraysh were kind of a sort of like a source of knowledge. They had like a sort of epistemological weight, that an epistemic weight, that they would think, they would, there were certain people like the soothsayers, the kahins, that would say that we have our shayateen that are visiting the heavens, and they gain information from these stars or from who knows where, that they go up there and they come back down and they tell us, and we're basically, they tell us events that are going to happen in the future. Now we individuals have this information regarding the future that could be a benefit to you. Just pay us and we will sell you that information, pretty much. So now, why this is important is because this was actually a claim that was made against Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that the kahin, whatever, that the kahin is telling. Okay, but the thing is that we see that the kahin, obviously it's a whole scam, right? That he says that he gains this information from the shayateen, and that even if he does gain some sort of information, it's always incomplete information. It's nothing like that's very clear or coherent. So now, obviously, what this guy, who's obviously he's just trying to get money, what is he going to do when someone comes to him saying that I need my fortune about what's going to happen? Am I going to have a son or a daughter? Should this marriage take place in my khandan or something, whatever, all that stuff? That obviously this guy who wants that person's money, he's going to tell him what he likes, correct? It's not like he's going to tell him something that's going to upset him, of course, or else there's fear that he won't be paid. So now we see that this claim against Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that you are a kahin, you too are probably just a soothsayer who's like hearing some whispers from shayateen in the clouds or whatnot. Well, this obviously isn't the case, because is all of this entire, literally talking about how the cosmos, the entire universe is going to it's going to be destroyed, and it's going to be in disarray. Is this something that a person wants to hear? Of course not, especially for a disbeliever. The disbeliever, of course, does not want to hear this. Additionally, we see that there's a sort of the epistemic value that we were talking about. Allah Ta'ala is going to discuss that right here. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit more detail there. Um, so in addition, one last thing before we talk about the إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ, that Allah Ta'ala is swearing by the motion of the stars, so which they thought meant something. So of course, and they're seeing like these, like certain, like a shooting star. They're seeing like a pulsars. I believe that's the term for them. They're seeing like lights, kind of, they get brighter, they get dimmer, they get brighter, they get dimmer. So they thought that, okay, these stars are trying to tell us something. But of course, now Allah Ta'ala is saying that I'm in charge of these stars. So there's no reason that now what I'm about to tell you right now, this should have this should be something that you turn your attention towards as well. Mm, Maybe we should. Okay, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ. Surely I swear by the star that recedes, it runs forward and then it fades. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسْعَسَ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسَ. Could you translate from ayah number 17 until ayah number 20, 21, I guess? well established. Yeah, well established. Oh, you said well established throne. If it was a sifa, if because you're saying that, yes, yeah, or else it would also have the alif lam and all that. So this is saying innahu laqawlu rasulin kareem. Innahu laqawlu rasulin. I don't know if you guys hear that. Yeah, can you give me a second? Let me just make sure my mom's okay. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. No, it was. It was literally nothing. My brother, I think my brother was just like testing out the whatever. Okay, so it's saying innahu laqawlu rasulin kareem. Innahu laqawlu rasulin. What are the other? إنه لقول رسول كريم إنه لقول رسول ذي قوة إنه لقول رسول it's these all are just like sifas of the yeah إنه لقول رسول مكين. Understand? Yeah, great. Thamma is used for sort of ta'kid as to what follows. So like, and he most is also most surely Amin, trustworthy. That were yeah okay okay. So now, what are we talking? So, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسْعَسَ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسَ. So this is kind of this is I guess we could more in the discussion of the فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ. That وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسَسَ, when the night إِذَا عَسْعَسَ, when it عَسْعَس is used for it's from the أفعال الضاد. That's what it's called, الضاد. That ضد means to be opposite. So a fi'l that's used for both opposites يعني meaning the والليل إذا عسعس, when it's daytime and starts to become night, or when it's nighttime and starts to become day, meaning like maghrib and fajr time pretty much, right? So والليل إذا عسعس, when it comes in or when it starts to leave. والصبح إذا تنفس, and when the morning time starts to breathe يعني it becomes morning time. So you could say that it'd be probably more appropriate for والليل إذا عسعس to be like when the night comes in, and then the morning time is like for the flip side as well. So again, this is all just referring back to the different motions of these like celestial bodies that Allah Taala is in charge of. Now, question comes. This is where it gets really cool, and I'm taking this from Mullah Yusuf. I'm not sure if you guys had the opportunity to listen to that video of the Mullah Yusuf's talk this during the Sierra conference. Him and Muhtaram did a what is it called? The workshop. It was a workshop called "The Quran: A Timeless Miracle." So I'm just kind of summing up briefly what he said regarding like what exactly is the point. What we were talking about destruction of the cosmos. Now we're talking about uqsimu bil khunnas al jawar al kunnas. Like what does that have to do with anything? So now fundamentally that we see that if a person is denying the akhirah, they are either denying that Allah Ta'ala has the ability to do it, or they accept that Allah Ta'ala has the ability to do it, and they're just denying that it's going to happen. That yeah, we admit that Allah Ta'ala has the ability to do that, but there's nothing establishing the fact that He is going to do it. Understand? So like it would seem to me that in the previous surahs talk when they were asking their questions, it could possibly be for either or. But over here, it's very clear that it's like there that the that is this discussing the claim that there's no that we haven't been informed that Allah Ta'ala is going to do this. Now, why do they think that? It's because they're denying the risala of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, correct? So now what are we going to do? After in the previous surahs we established the power that Allah Ta'ala has, that He's in control of all of these things. We're also establishing it from the angle that this qiyamah is going to happen. Why? Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a prophet, and and because he's a prophet, he's informing on Allah Ta'ala's behalf that this thing is going to take place. So now there's four parts to a message. And this is also like completely from my side. So please, if you guys like maybe heard or learned something else, please feel free to correct me, inshallah. Uh, a message, if you look at it, has four parts, correct? It has the person who's sending that message. It has the receiver of the message. It has the message itself. And it also has, if applicable, the middleman, right? So now I'm thinking that, okay, let's see. We very clear here. We see that it's discussing the middleman. It's discussing إنه لقول رسول كريم. This is referring to Jibreel alayhi salam. Others also say that this is talking about certain sifat of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but the majority opinion is that it's referring to Jibreel alayhi salam. إنه لقول رسول كريم. That this is the message of a noble messenger, ذي قوة, someone who has power. عند ذي العرش. He's in the proximity of the arsh. Makin. He is what do we say? Well established, yeah. Well established, muta', he's obeyed or followed. Thumma amin, and he's also trustworthy. So now this is establishing like the veracity of the middleman of Jibril alayhi salam. If we go back actually, now this is where I was like, maybe this thing what I was thinking maybe had some weight. Allah Ta'ala, it seems like in the last, this is the fourth surah that we've covered, right? It seems like in the last four surahs, Allah Ta'ala actually discusses each one of these 4 points. That Allah Ta'ala says that number one, in Surah Naba, regarding the sender of the message, what does Allah Ta'ala say? رَبِّ السَّمَاوَاتِ, Surah Naba, رَبِّ السَّمَاوَاتِ, ayah number 27, رَبِّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا الرَّحْمَنُ لَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِنْهُ خِطَابًا. That Allah Ta'ala says He is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and that which is between them, the meaning the and Rahmani, the All Merciful, is in control of all these things. لا يملكون منه خطابا. No one has the ability to speak on the Day of Judgment. Kind of refer. So it just maybe I'm like reaching here, but I'm almost like referring to like the khitab that you guys aren't going to be allowed to do on the Day of Judgment. You guys won't be allowed to speak. It's because that you guys didn't even accept my speech that I was giving to you while you were in the world. يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة. So again, referring to the middleman here. لا والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال الصواب. So this is referring to again the وقال الصواب. If you remember that we talked that this is referring to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and how he's going to be given the opportunity of the shafa'at al-kubra, where he prostrates in front of Allah Ta'ala and he glorifies Allah Ta'ala in a way that hasn't been done before. So now we've discussed the sender, we discussed just now the receiver, وقال الصواب. لا يملكون منه الخطاب is referring to the message, possibly, and then it's also يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة, it's referring to the middleman. Okay, now that's just in that one series of surahs. But then, okay, so if you say that, okay, of course, Allah Ta'ala is establishing, ذلك اليوم الحق, and then that's the day that Allah Ta'ala is establishing the actual message that was being given to you is happening right here. إِنَّا أَنذَرْنَاكُمْ عَذَابًا قَرِيبًا, and then in the next surah, Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُنذِرُ مَنْ يَخْشَاهَا, that He describes Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as the munzir. Anyway, I think I'm already running out of time, but I don't know. I might be just stretching, just reaching over there, but it seems like these four things are kind of each one in each particular surah is being discussed, and Allah Ta'ala He's showing the veracity and the authenticity of all four of these things. And then, of course, in Surah Abasa, we discussed في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة. Allah Ta'ala talks about how the message itself, the Quran, it's noble, marfu'ah, that it's elevated, mutahhara بأيدي الشياطين. I don't know if you guys remember, but I had said that it hasn't been tampered with by the shayateen. And now we're talking about the middleman between Allah Ta'ala and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is Jibreel Alayhi Salam. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ, that this is the message that this noble messenger is carrying and he is conveying. So now, there's certain sifat that Allah Ta'ala is now going to ascribe to the angel Jibreel. And he says that, okay, so the first is Allah Ta'ala calls him a Rasul Kareem, a noble a noble messenger. So this could be first, as opposed to the shayateen, that these kohan, like we just talked about these kohan, these soothsayers, the people that would just wait for the angel, the jinn to come to them, right? So this is in direct opposition. Those people, these kohan, you guys are claiming that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a kahin, but like a kahin, what does he get? He gets a devil as his messenger. This is literally the opposite. This is our angel Jibreel. He's not a devil. He's not. He's actually excellent in his character. He's noble. He himself is a righteous individual. Or it could also refer to that it's not like just some random, some like average Joe, right? Not some like some random guy just coming to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's almost like, if we look at it like if the president wanted to like send a message to like some like the prime minister of England or something, and you had to have like a middleman between them. You can't just have like some random dude, like some rookie police officer, just coming in and just give him the message and just go. Although even if the rookie police officer in this case, this hypothetical is that even if he is like super duper trustworthy, he's not noble. He doesn't have like a certain elite or like a status to him, so you can't give it to him. It has to be someone who is who is recognized as a like he's worthy of being able to carry that message almost. You know what I'm saying? ذي قوة ذي قوة. Okay, so now if someone is a if someone is a middleman, he has to have a certain strength to him. Why? Because if there's people that try to rob him of his message, then they can and they are easily able to overtake him, and that will compromise the integrity of the message. Why? Because they could either they could themselves steal it or they can tamper with it. So now what is Allah Ta'ala saying? That this Jibreel alayhi salam, he's ذي قوة. There's no one that can mess with him while he's carrying the message. عند ذي العرش. Now this is showing the proximity of Jibreel alayhi salam, that there is between Jibreel alayhi salam and Allah Ta'ala, there's no middleman either. That is going straight from Allah Ta'ala to Jibreel alayhi salam to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Why? Because he's عند ذي العرش. He's right there. He's like the secretary to the person in, okay, not person of course, but for the sake of the analogy, is that for the person in office, it's like the secretary that's right outside the door. Makin, well established. Now again, let's just take that well established. Like that, we take that rookie police officer, right? That first in his first year of being hired as a police officer. So now, even if this rookie police officer, like we said, is the most trustworthy person, he's still not going to he's not going to be deemed to carry that message. Why? Because first he's going to have to, he's going to have to first he starts off as a rookie police officer, then he becomes like, has some years of experience, becomes like a what are the inspector, detective, whatever. He becomes like the head of some division, and then he's like in charge of the entire police investigations throughout the city. And then he gains up and up in status. Only when he has that respected status is he able to be someone who's even though the trustworthiness level hasn't changed at all. Only then is he deemed worthy to be able to carry that message. And lastly, we have muta', not lastly, sorry, second to last, we have muta', that he is obeyed, he's followed. So now we see that when Jibreel alayhi salam used to come down with the wahi, he himself, he would be followed by just an entire army of angels that would just fill up the entire sky. And I believe this is talked about in Surah al-Jinn. Thamma Amin, and the most important quality of a middleman has to be that he is himself trustworthy. So all the outside factors, even if so let's say he is able to ward off anyone that tries to mess with him while he's carrying the message. Let's say he is someone of noble stature. Let's say he is respected. If he himself has devious intentions, if he himself wishes to tamper with the message, then that's like the internal struggle, as opposed to all these other things which are kind of external in the eyes of other people. So the most important thing is that he is Amin. So that's what this is the middleman between Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Allah Ta'ala. Oh my gosh, I completely skipped over the what's the point of it's already 9 o'clock though. We could just stop here then, maybe finish off the surah, and then like what's the point? What's the connection between the why Allah Ta'ala in a lot of places he takes the qasam, and then the jawab al qasam has to do with like risala or Quran. Like what's the connection between that? What does Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have to do with stars? Like it seems like kind of random, but then there's this is what Maul Yusuf actually talked about. That's the thing I was referring to. I don't know where I went from that, and then I started talking about that. I just completely skipped over it. But the connection between Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Quran, and between stars. Like what are the similarities between those? So inshallah, I guess maybe it's already 9 o'clock, 8:59. We could talk about that next time, inshallah. This is actually some really really great stuff. It's kind of like jaw dropping. So that's, if you guys want to listen to it, it's the workshop called The Quran, A Timeless Miracle, and around 2 hours into the video. That's when Yusuf starts talking about it. So you guys can listen to it then if you over there if you want, inshallah. But inshallah, I'll just give the brief summary next class, inshallah. So any questions from you guys, and then if not, we could just pause here. I was trying to finish the surah today, but I guess that didn't happen. Okay, let me just make a note. Do that and finish the surah. Any questions? Is there anything sent in the? Alrighty. Again, end here, inshallah. Subhanallah, bihamdi, subhanakallahumma, bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I didn't even talk about the retrograde thing, did I? The retrograde thing? Did I discuss what the why I sent that retrograde motion picture? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, all right, inshallah. All right, okay. Just the cool thing was the really cool thing was the whole the connection between. Oh man. Okay, I'm sorry. Inshallah, we'll cover it next time though. Inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum.